Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild podcast, all about the experiences and memories that board games with friends and family can create. On this episode, our 50th episode, we're going to take a look back at what we've done, where we are as gamers, and where we're going.
Sounds good to me. And also how you guys put up with me.
We don't.
I know.
That's why 50 is the last one, guys. We're done.
At least that's what we're telling Peter. We're going to continue behind his back.
I've just been waiting for you guys to give me the axe. Just been waiting.
So I know Peter's the newest, but he's been here for a long time too. So the first one we'll go over is being a content creator and doing these podcasts and reviewing board games and talking about that. How has that changed your taste in gaming?
If at all.
If at all, yeah.
So I would say I'm like thinking back to the last year and a half it's been, right? More or less.
Yes. Yeah. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
I'm thinking back over this time period, and generally I think I'm open to more experiences. Like I'm more experimental. In the last years particularly, I've found more hybrid games than I thought I would find. And when I say hybrid games, I mean games that play like mechanical Euros, but with really strong thematic connections or story modes.
Yeah, I think I was a complete Euro gamer, and I have slightly shifted, or actually shifted a lot, to shorter games with more theme to them. I've played a lot more different games with you guys. Now we've done playthroughs together, and just in general, I seem to be shifting towards the games that you can get more thematic enjoyment out of that play in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Although it goes a step further, I was definitely becoming a Euro snob, where it was a light game, a simple game that it was not really a game, and it wasn't worth playing. I've definitely spent a lot more time playing these light games, partially because of time constraints. I don't necessarily have the time to play a 4-hour game all the time anymore, so a nice game that I can go in 30 minutes and play it, and maybe I can read the rules in 30 minutes as well, and those get to the table quite a lot more than they used to.
So everybody so far has said shorter. For me, the time frame hasn't really changed. So most of my gameplay sessions are still in that like middleweight category, where we sit down for 1.5 to 2 hours. Occasionally, a game will stretch into the 3-hour range. We did do a complete all 3 ages 2-player session of Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. I think that was close to 4 hours, but that's an outliner because it's significantly heavier game.
Twilight Imperium.
Yeah, I don't even remember how long that play session was, but that's definitely long.
That was a long game. So I guess for me, it had been a long time since I had been playing games on a real regular basis other than Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play board games all the time. I had a group back home that I played with on a weekly basis, and we were playing all sorts of different games. And then I moved away from home, got away from all of that, and hadn't been playing games in a long time. And after getting together with you guys and starting to record on the show, I've had the opportunity to play a whole lot more again, and so that's been awesome. And I've still been able to play some of those games that I played back then, but you guys have opened my eyes to a whole lot more games that are out there, which is fantastic. And so I've just been really kind of reveling in the ability to play a lot more games, a lot of diverse games, something from all the way from Twilight Imperium, which took hours and very in-depth looking over the rules ahead of times and getting myself ready, really prepared to play that game. And then games that I can just sit down and learn in 15-20 minutes, play Quacks of Quedlinburg online. And just for me anyways, being a content creator has introduced me to more of the gaming community in my area and has given me the opportunity to play games that previously I didn't have the opportunity to play. So it's really expanded my horizons in the gaming world. So
yeah,
it's always good.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Nathan and James, you both have said you've been playing shorter games. Do you think you've been playing lighter games necessarily on average, or where do you stand on that axis?
So I still play. I look at the majority of the games I play. I still play a game I like a lot, and the majority of the games I like are either fit into 2 camps. They're either going to be a complex Euro, a complex thematic game, or a highly strategic abstract game. So the games I end up, and that's another thing. COVID changed a lot of my gaming habits because I I now play more into my family style. So my wife and I will play games. My daughter and I will play games, and I started morphing into liking and playing more games that they like too. So games that I'll play, we've played dozens of times, and we'll play and we rarely rack up the numbers because just today I played Battle Line 5 times with my wife, and a lot of days we'll play Nova Luna 2 or 3 times, or we'll play Azul 2 or 3 times. Some days we play Battle Line 5 times, Azul 3 times, and a lot. So, and those are all abstract strategy games. So that's more where my wife likes, and I like them a lot. My daughters like the complex thematic games like Dead of Winter. They love Dead of Winter, Blood Rage, Rising Sun, those type of games. So that's more where I'm morphing into. I do like Euros. I used to play Agricola a lot with my wife, and we'll go back and play it every once in a while, but I've been playing less Euros.
Yeah, for me, I've definitely been playing a lot more lighter games, and part of it is the ease of the rule books. I do have been growing in my appreciation for games I can sit down in a few minutes, read the rule book, and then teach it. Nova Luna, I probably would not have looked at much previously, but I really enjoy it now. Ripple Rush, Dizzle is another one I probably would not have looked at before, but I really enjoyed it. And a lot of that, I don't want to spend necessarily 4 hours reading a rule book just before I can even start teaching a game. And I need something, when I do have to spend that much time reading the rule book, sometimes I just pull out a quick game, when I need a break from reading that rule book.
Yeah, there's something to be said about a game that you know really well that is a lot of fun that you can teach in a couple minutes.
That said, if somebody asked me what game I would like to play, I'm definitely going to pick a Euro or a heavier game.
So how about you, Dan and Peter?
Well, for me, I'll have to say that I've probably been trending heavier actually of late. I used to just plain ignore games that were rated over like a 3.5 or 3.6. Not that I don't have some in my collection. Like I think Zolkin is close to a 4 or thereabouts, and I've had that for a good number of years. But like it was a rare bird where I'd actually be attracted to a heavier game. But for some reason, like this past year and a half, I've tried some heavier games and I've found them quite, I don't have the word for it, attractive, I guess.
Yeah, I actually find like the heavier Euros and the heavier games, they give more satisfaction in the gameplay, I think, because they're a lot harder to, and there's a lot more rules because it gives you a more open feel, or they can. So there's a lot more avenues of strategy, and there's a lot more ways to do the things you would like to do or explore the game. And the Euros I really like, you could do 15 different strategies to win the game. Or the thematic games I like, there's multiple different avenues. You don't have like a straightforward shot to do anything in the more complex games. Do you think that might be part of it?
Yeah, part of it is that there's more like reward mechanisms built into the game. Like if you have a complex game, there isn't just like one mechanism. There's like 5 mechanisms, and they sort of like feed off of each other or interconnected in some way, shape, or form. That's not saying that I still don't like a lot of like most of my collection is still like middleweight games, and I still have my collection, an array of like small box games that I will gladly play. So those games aren't going away, but I found this new thing that I also like, I guess, is the best way to put it.
So what I'm hearing is you've grown out of Glory to Rome.
And I need to not give it to you. Gotcha. All right. No. I mean, to be fair, Glory to Rome is pretty complex. So
yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to that.
I was gonna say, for me, I and this is just me in general, I think I'm still all over the board. I think I am in my, I don't know, maybe I'm like in my honeymoon phase with games right now, because I'm just like, if it's a game I just want to play, I'm not going into it with any big filter or anything. It's like, oh, someone's like, oh yeah, I want to show you or teach you this game. I'm like, I'm in. Just tell me about it. If you got the time to teach me the game so I can play it, I'm gonna take the time to learn it and play it and have a good time. So I'm playing all sorts of stuff. And again, coronavirus has just been this like big crazy time, because all of a sudden I've been able to get friends to get online with me and play games that I normally wouldn't see at all. And so I mean, I've almost gone through the entire campaign for Star Wars Imperial Assault on Tabletop Simulator at this point, and have loved that game, which is just kind of a very fight or flight middleweight game, but I enjoy it. I like fantasy Fantasy Flight. I like their style of gameplay. But at the same time, then I'm playing Glory to Rome with you guys, a very much more complex game. But I love Glory to Rome at this point, and I've already taught it to the friend that I'm playing the Star Wars Imperial Assault with, and he likes it. So right now, I am just, if you've got the time, I'm going to sit down and play the game. And I've had very few games so far that I've walked away going, yeah, I don't really want to do that one again. Most of them, I'm on board to play it again and have a good time. So that's where I am right now. Just sit down and show me a game, and I'm there.
Well, that brings up a good thing. Since we've been doing this, is there a game that you discovered that is now your like new favorite, or a game that you're glad that you ran into, other than Glory to Rome, because everyone likes Glory to Rome. So you have to pick something else. Do you have something that I do. I have one. So I'll let you think for a second, and I'll just tell you what mine is. So Glory Rome's out, but Dinosaur Island. I really enjoyed playing that game. That was a lot of fun. I like to eventually play the longer version where you get more like dinosaur genes going and stuff, and build your park up more.
We played the short scenario that was the default in the rule book, and even shorter than that with 4 play. No, we were 3, right, when we played that.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. Normally we would have played with 4 objectives, but we were only playing with 3. But we played until we got all 3 objectives. So that was the normal short game, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably right now for me, the game that I am the most excited to play at any given time, and it's so crazy because I still haven't played it at a table yet, is Blood Rage. I absolutely love that game, and I've got a friend that I've already talked into purchasing it. So the next time he and I can get together, he's actually got the physical copy, and so I'm looking forward to playing that. But yeah, that's probably the game that I have found lately that I'm super excited to play it anytime I get the chance.
I am so happy. Blood Rage is one of my favorite games ever created. So
yeah, I can't wait to eventually get to play it with you with a physical copy. So
unfortunately, most of the games that we've ended up playing have been out of my collection. There is one that you brought to us and said we should play this, and we did, and it was quite good. And I even played it online with a different group, and it remained quite good at a different player count. And that game was Ankh.
Yeah.
Which is strangely from the same designer as Blood Rage, right?
Well, it's from the greatest designer on the face of the planet.
Yeah, is it strange?
This show is not sponsored by Eric M. Lang, but it should be.
At some point, maybe we should have an Eric M. Langathon.
He does a lot of interviews. I don't know if we could get him, but yeah, that'd be cool.
But,
I'm sure he got tons of free time on his hands, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure he did. Well, now, maybe he stepped down from CMON, maybe. Never know.
What about you, Nathan? What's your game?
Well, probably the most memorable game I played related to this podcast was Manchester Madness, which you played at Slipper Rock Con last year, which was tentatively related to the podcast. We were, helping out at the con and as Tabletop Gaming Guild. But
yes, that definitely counts, and I had almost forgotten that play. We were all there, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm looking forward to getting to play again. I'm dying to play the train
scenario.
Oh
man, the train one is
every
awesome.
time you guys talk about that one, I get super excited. I'm looking forward to that one.
I don't know. Was it Nathan we played? We almost won.
Yeah.
I thought the end was when you. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I thought the end was at a certain point, and it wasn't, and we had to do one more thing, and I was like, dang it. But I think I got a real strategy on potentially winning that one. So it'd be really cool to try to employ it with you and see what happens. So.
Well, just don't send the high wisdom person to do all the fighting and the dumb one to do all the puzzles.
We always had that happen too. It's just like the guy that was the fastest can't do puzzles, and the guy that ends up being like the smart guy. He's getting stuck with all the monsters eating him.
Yep. That's a good choice, though, Nathan. Mansions is high on my list of a replay one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
James, do you have a darling?
Oh, mine was Dinosaur Island.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a new to me one because I played Blood Rage and all that stuff, and obviously I was all in on Ankh, so I can't wait for that monster box to show up.
I'm sure it is a monster. Literally. Like the box is shaped like a giant alligator thing. Right?
Oh, that'd be really, really cool.
I wanted to bring up one more thing before we plugged along. Speaking of plugged, I wanted to know if any of you felt more or less plugged into the gaming hobby or the gaming industry or things along that nature. I wanted to say for myself that I actually feel like being on here has made me more aware of what's going on in the larger community. I, of course, am already fairly plugged in because I get these solicitations from my distributor and from publishing companies. So I see games as they are released, right? But it being on here is sort of giving me like another filter. So what I am seeing through my various sources, talking to you guys and being exposed as we are, has allowed me to help separate the signal, which is the things that I might be interested in for myself or the store, from the noise, all the other stuff that's out there.
Yeah, for me, I was always crazy about reading and watching videos and listening to podcasts about board games. And I actually probably listen to less podcasts about board games now than I did before, but I still listen to a bunch of them.
Well, you only need to listen to us, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're the end all be all. Don't worry about it. But I've met a lot more people too through different social medias and just email correspondence. I've got to know people from different board gaming companies. So there's a lot of really cool people out there and a lot of really cool stuff that I wasn't actually intertwined with, and now I am. So I'm really happy.
I'd say it's not directly necessarily related to the podcast, but as a natural course, I've become a little less enamored with Kickstarter. At one point, I was on Kickstarter every single day, checking out what's new, how well things are doing. Maybe I'm on it twice a month now. Big part of that is actually just because of fatigue with these big games that generally are pushed by Kickstarter. It's like, how many lifestyle games can you have? It's like these, especially the campaign games that are really cool and looking nice, and I don't have 100 hours to play a game.
Yeah, that, and I think a lot of the Kickstarter games are not good.
True.
So there's a lot of issue with that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terribly difficult to tell anymore the difference between the like really lousy ones and the decent games. Is like, the really ones that are really funding well and have previously released games that have done well, and those are usually easy to spot. Obviously CMON, and there's some big names getting involved in Kickstarter now, but a lot of times the ones that are like pretty obvious that they're going to be good games are ones that are going to be available in shops anyway. So
yeah, and it's just
it's kind of a wash.
The good companies and the good games are going to show up, and the only reason you do the Kickstarter is to get the extra stuff. They have it.
For me, I wasn't listening to a ton of podcasts or watching a lot of videos, and so I have gotten into searching out through YouTube other content creators, trying to see what games they're getting into so that I can learn more about what games are coming out or what games they're finding interesting, so that I'm not just pigeonholing myself into the games that I personally like. I know I personally seek out a lot of intellectual properties. Like, if I really like Dungeons and Dragons, I look for all the games that are Dungeons and Dragons themed. I want to try to keep broadening my horizons with what I'm playing. And so going out and finding other content creators out there who are really into the hobby and hearing what it is that they're interested in then kind of gives me an idea of places to start looking for what might be the next new game for me that I'm really going to love. And so it's becoming, I guess, a content creator is making me more aware of how many other content creators there are out there that are really good, that are making quality videos, that are talking about really great games. And then it's great because I get to like geek out with them when they're talking about the game that I already know and love. And then because I see their taste, I can be like, okay, well, I've not played that game before, but I know that they like other games that I like, and so I can give this a try. So a lot of different content creators that are out there that are really fantastic. And so I feel like I feel like you guys have kind of been wading in the water of this hobby for a while. I'm still just kind of just getting my feet wet, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's been a lot of fun for me over the last, half a year to a year, or however long we've been doing this since I've been on the show. So
yeah, I think wading in is the right analogy there too, Pete, because I feel like even me, where I am at, I am still exploring the sum total of all that is gaming, right? And not even, I'm looking into some RPG stuff that I've been ignoring for several years and rediscovering that. But like, even just in the board game arena, I am looking for new things to expose myself to.
Yeah, so that actually brings up a good point. So with doing all this, are you finding yourself drawn to newer games just coming out and getting those new experiences? Or are you still looking at the classic games?
Okay, yeah, this is my check to classics or always shiny and new question.
Yeah.
Shiny and new for me, sir, though with a caveat. I will still periodically discover games that were published like 2 to like 5 years ago that I would seriously like to try. But strangely enough, when I discover a game that's like older than that, it doesn't attract my attention as much. And I don't even look at the publication date before I make that decision, like 98% of the time.
Yeah, for me, I'm about the same way. I always looking for the new experiences in games that they can give. So I'm always looking at the new games and all the well, theoretically, I'm always looking at the new games that are new to me that I haven't played. Some of them I've heard a lot from other content creators they like, and I get that want to play them. And what I do is I end up going through all these games, and when we find a game we like, I will play that thing until I never want to play it again, and then I'll just keep going. So that's basically how I roll, and that hasn't changed all that much. So I still like the shiny new games, or at least the new one's new to me, just like Dan, and I still play games to death.
Yeah, I'm still big on the classic games. Not necessarily, well, classic games are new to me, really. Anything I've heard, I definitely go by how much I've heard the name of the game, how much people are talking about it. So, and I do actually go into backlogs of other content creators' videos and see what they used to talk about a lot. So, and I find a lot of games that way. So yeah, I do. While I'm always getting the new hotnesses, I still frequently getting like old classics like Archipelago or Evolution and things like those that have been around for a while. Even Cosmic Encounters been long for decades, and it's still a fabulous game.
Yeah, for me right now, it is still it's dependent on what it is I'm doing. If I'm introducing somebody to a game, then I'm going to games that I've played a whole bunch. So whenever I get a friend who's not played games in a while, then I'm diving into Lords of Waterdeep or Ticket to Ride, a game that I know that I understand and I can teach well. But where I'm really enjoying it is when I'm playing games with you guys or with somebody else they've already got a big library of games, catalog of games that they know, and then at that point I'm just whatever game you put down on the table, I'm gonna play it. So I'm looking forward to some time when we can actually get together in person at some point and just be like, hey, here's a weekend, James, just show me all the games that I missed. We'll start with Agricola and we'll go from there. It'll be great.
Dang right we are.
Because again, for me, those games will be new, but all of a sudden I'm like, I want to know all the games I missed, because there's a lot of games that I've missed over the years that I've not had a chance to play yet. But I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in what are the new games that are coming out. I'm starting to follow again some board game designers. That was something that I never looked into before I was a content creator, before being on the podcast. If it was a game on the shelf, I'm like, it might look interesting, but now I'm starting to, it's like, when you first start watching movies, you just watch the movie to watch the movie. You weren't following a specific director. Nowadays, I've been following directors of movies now for a while. If they're going to make a film, I'm going to watch it because I know I like their stuff. And that's kind of where I'm going with games now too. When I find a game that I like, I'm like, okay, I want to find the other games that this person has created. I want to see where they went from, what variations they've done on this. Is it a completely different game or is it a slight variation on it? And so I just feel like I've barely scratched the surface, and there's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, and I got a problem with that Dan might agree with you saying you're going to start with Agricola. Well, first of all, Agricola, I wouldn't start with that. But you'll never make it to Zaya.
It doesn't have to be alphabetical.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be alphabetical. It's true.
That is true, though. If you made it alphabetical, you would never get to Zaya. That's true.
It's very true.
I think Agricola is definitely a game that you need to experience. Even if you don't end up liking it, still a game you should experience, because it's so embedded in like the board gaming hobby since it's been around so long. At least gets you like the point, can understand why some people like it. You can understand maybe why you don't like it if you don't. So it's an important game to that. The other ones I was thinking about just right off the top of my head when you were doing that was Scythe. I have to show you Scythe.
Yeah, Scythe is a game that I've been wanting to play for a while. So again, there's just so much stuff. And Nathan, as much as I would love for you to be the one to help choose which games, James lives a little bit closer.
I win by proximity.
That's the only way you can win.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to say that I sort of turned that corner as well in the past year and a half. I used to research games like on their own merits as to whether or not I would like them. If I was really excited about a game, I'd pick it up and, play it, usually half a dozen to a dozen times, but Sometimes I would get rid of it after a half dozen times because I felt like it wasn't really for me. Sometimes I would get rid of it after a dozen times because, hey, I felt like I got my value out of this and let's pay it forward to make room for something else. But I would never pay attention to designers before this year. This year I started paying attention to designers, right? Alexander Fisher turned my head and made me look at all of his other designs. So now I'm going to try all of his designs that I can on Tabletop Simulator just to try them, right? And I'm going to try Multanai, his more recent implementation of that same system, to see how similar it is.
I read the rules for it because I picked it up and a friend gave me the expansion to it, and it is and it isn't similar. The mechanics are the same. What's not there is the broken combos.
Okay,
so,
still gonna try.
Yeah, no, I'd say try it. I haven't got to play it with my wife yet. That's what I'm gearing up for. It's a more difficult game to explain to someone who's never played that style of game before.
Yeah, that was true for Glory to Rome as well.
And I think that she will enjoy this game more than she would Glory to Rome. It seems like this game is more balanced. So you'll have more push and pull throughout the game of not like, oh my, I'm going to have to beat this super, which is a lot of fun. I'm trying to get this super combo. I'm trying to get it before they are. And you get this silly mad race at the end. That's awesome. I don't think you'll have that with Matai. But again, just read the rule book and looked at the cards. I didn't actually play it yet. So I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong on that. So one thing that brings me up to thinking about is and I read a lot of rule books. So one thing that interests me is I could read a rule book and think, I'm going to hate this game. And I'm not always right. Sometimes I read through that rule book, or even before we do a playthrough, I'll watch a video or two on it. And I get this general idea of whether I'm going to like it or not like it. Or I'll read a rule book and I'll think this game is going to be amazing. And then I actually play it and I don't like it. Have you guys seen that happen where you are now, I know you're like more open to more games, but are you more seeing that process happen a little bit more where you're not like, I shift my mindset when I play the game. I don't know whether I'm going to really like it or not, so I'm just going to enjoy it and see how it turns out, even if I think I'm not going to.
Are you talking specifically about the predictive element? Can we predict whether or not we can like a game?
Yeah, if you just like, let's say before you play, you watch the video, you're going to have some thought in your head what you think of the game before we play it. Have you guys found that you've been pleasantly wrong when you played a game and you actually liked it when you thought you might not like it or it might not be your bag of tea, or the opposite where you thought it would be amazing and it didn't quite meet your expectations?
You guys would never introduce me to a game like that, right?
Of course I would.
See, the sad truth of this is that eventually you'll run across a game that is a complete dud for you. You might not have run across that yet because we are like cutting the ones that didn't make it for us and only introducing you to the good stuff.
But I could tell you there's games that I love that you will not like, and it goes vice versa, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, I guess again for me just being maybe just again still too new to the hobby or something, but so far I haven't run into, I can't think of a game for me that I just bounced off of hard and was like, I will never sit down with that game at a table again.
How about the opposite, where you were like, I'm not too sure about this game, and you ended up liking it a lot? I could say for me it was Glory to Rome, because I didn't really think that it would be as amazing as it was, because just reading it I was like, wow, this doesn't seem amazing.
I was going to say that one maybe for me, but only because I spent because I played that with Dan and Nathan, and I spent that whole first game not knowing jack what I was supposed to do. Like it just wasn't clicking. But by the end of the first game, when I could see what they had done and I realized what I was supposed to be doing, I was like, okay, I can't wait to play this again because now I know what I'm supposed to do. I know the goal of because I did not get it just by listening to the explanation. It really took me watching it played by the two of them to realize how it should have been done. And so but again, then I turned around, played it again, and then I taught it to a friend right away because I wanted to play it again. I was like, I wanted to play it so bad I had to teach it to somebody.
So really what I'm hearing is when you played it with me, you were like, this is amazing. I'm so glad.
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was.
You know what? Hearing your guys' comments does not surprise me at all. You read the rule book for Glory to Rome, and and you don't realize how good the game is going to be because 90% of the game is in the effects of the cards, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Until you know the X.
Right. You played Glory to Rome once, and maybe you're out of it for a whole game or a half a game because you don't just see how it's supposed to come together until you start seeing it come together for other people, right?
Well, and you know what? I will say the one game that I really, really loved and I played a few times right away after learning it with you guys, and it's not that I wouldn't play it again because I definitely would, but it's not as high on my list of getting it back to the table, is actually Interesting Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Interesting.
As much as I really enjoy the game and I think it's fun, there's not as much strategy as I would like. Like I think I'm leaning more towards the games with more strategy. And so if I was going to sit down and just with a friend and say, oh, I'm going to teach you a game in like 15, 20 minutes and we're going to play it, then I would choose Quacks of Quedlinburg and I would have a blast. I would still really enjoy myself, but I don't think it's quite the level of game that I'm desiring right now to play. So it's not that I don't like it. It's just not going to be the top of my list to get it back to the table right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see that with that game.
Yeah, I would say I've always been hesitant to prejudge games. I've always been big on giving them a try. There's a lot of games I would never have tried otherwise. Planke is a good example. Planke is one of the most hideous games you'll see. Box cover's ugly. The board itself is ugly. The rules aren't terribly well written, and it's basically an abstract strategy game, but it works really well for a game that didn't seem like it would work until you actually started playing it. It's a lot of fun. It's you building walls, and you're basically doing area control in an abstract strategy game, and you can use your action to expand a wall or try to take over somebody else's territory, and it's a lot of fun. But that's always been my kind of mindset going into games is, okay, don't really try to judge it until you've at least got a few turns in and kind of figured out what's actually happening.
Yeah, I'll agree that game is one of the ugliest games I've ever seen in my entire life. It is a pretty fun game on there too, but I didn't get enough plays out of it. So it's actually at the Butler Library right now. But it is a good abstract strategy game. Hideous.
I've been learning a lot of new games by just reading the rule book and being able to push around the pieces virtually on Tabletop Simulator recently. And I have to say that my prediction meter has been pretty accurate. There haven't been any wild swings in it like you've described, James. It's either been, oh, this should be good, and it's like, oh no, this is really quite good. Or I'll read the rules and be like, this should be okay. And I'll play the game and I'm like, yeah, that was okay. Because, after I've read the rules front to back and taken a look at the components so I know how those work, I'm probably going to play the game at least once at that point, even if I think it's not going to go well spectacularly.
Yeah, I could see that. For me, though, I've been playing a lot of completely random games.
Oh boy.
So I've been reading the rules for games that I would not necessarily have picked off the shelf, and some of them I'm really glad that I played because they were amazing, but it's not necessarily my theme or anything.
So my
what's
question,
a good example? Go ahead.
I was going to say, my question for you guys right now is because this is not something that I have found myself doing, but you guys, it sounds like you guys just find games and you start reading the rule books. Like, that's not something that I do. So
you know what, that's something that I didn't do before this year either. Like, I used to research games by watching reviews and checking out gameplay footage on YouTube. I never used to go looking for rule books, PDFs on the web until this year. Reason TT Tabletop Simulator opened a door for me. And I was like, this is another way to check out games. And for some reason, reading the rule book and being able to push around the pieces, even on a virtual space like TTS, is actually really good for me personally. So, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, if I can get my hands on the rule book for a game I'm thinking about, I will definitely read the rule book.
So, when did you start doing that, and what made you decide to I'm just gonna start reading? Because again, I'm with Dan, and this is what I still do most of the time, is I start looking for watch it played videos or anything like that that's just gonna break it down for me. But when was the first time then, James, that you kind of decided I'm just gonna start reading rule books and breaking down the game ahead of time that way?
I think it was the original Blood Rage Kickstarter.
Okay.
Where they had the rule book PDF stuff available. I think Kickstarter really got me started on it, because if I'm even like mildly interested in a Kickstarter and they have the rulebook there, I'll download it. If I'm interested in a Kickstarter and they don't have the rulebook, or at least a prototype rulebook, I'm probably not going to consider it anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, that's very interesting, because it gives you a better idea of really the gameplay, not just here's the flashy what we want you to think about the game, but here's the actual like meat of the game.
Yeah, and you can get a lot on how much design work they did and stuff from the rulebook. So you can get the idea of mechanics and how much they actually thought about the game. Because if you can read a rulebook and you have questions, the game might need a little more work.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure.
Or the rulebook, to be fair, but you can get a good gist of a game from a rulebook.
Yeah, I've never done that really myself, but part of that is because I am definitely impulse buyer, which has reduced significantly since I started it. Actually, when we started this, I'd consider myself still relatively new to the hobby, and I was just buying games in droves. I would buy bulk purchases every once in a while, and I've definitely slowed down because my shelves can't take anymore. So yeah, I've definitely started having to put more thought into what I buy, but hasn't gone so far as actually reading the rule books ahead of time for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm just insane.
Yeah, look, that sort of feeds into another topic I had on my checklist, which is how is your guys' collections, your board game collections, grown or evolved since we started this little project?
Well, since we started this project, my collection's actually shrunk. So I will qualify that by I've been really looking at the games that I've been actually, the biggest thing that made it go is I actually went through and I played almost all my games. So I have very few games that I haven't played. So going through that, and then you get games that are like, they end up getting cut, or there's games that actually replace other games. And I look at like how often we played and stuff like that. So I try to keep like the best possible collection going. And the community board game library thing we're doing is really outlet to put all the games that I'm not too sure about. So that's one of the reasons why it shrunk. So I think I have a really good collection. So when Nathan visits or you guys visit, I have games that I know how to play and that I love. Now I always have my little shelf or a little section of games that I haven't played yet, but for the most part, they're all been played and they're there because I like them.
Well, so for me, I mean, I still have definitely, I'm sure out of the four of us, a relatively small collection of games. And so the games that I have are games, most of the games that I've purchased are games that I've already at least played once before. Like it's not like I just went and picked it up, I haven't played it yet. Or it's been one that maybe I haven't played it yet, but we've talked about it. And from what we've talked about, I know I'm going to enjoy that game. So as much as I would love to be an impulse buyer, because there's games that I would love to go and just pick up, I mostly am building my collection early on, knowing the types of games that I'm enjoying and what I love. And so I'm being pretty picky from the outset, which I just consider to be a big bonus for me, because I'm not having to go back and then cull through all these games that I've not played or I wasn't sure about. So I'm trying to start my collection with like a very kind of focus on games that I know that I'm going to love and I'm going to want to bring back to the table as often as possible. And plus, I just moved, and my wife is like, hey, careful on how many games are coming in the house.
Well, that's only because you haven't bought a KLAC shelf yet.
No, I definitely don't have that. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's you saw my shelving unit that's over there?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I do
one.
not have a good shelving unit for games yet.
Yeah, I got a couple from behind me.
Yeah. Nathan's bookshelf is pretty impressive in his photo there. Nathan, we know you have acquisition disorder and you've slowed down a bit. You want to make any comments about your collection? Any other comments?
Back up. No. Acquisition disorder, good.
No, I definitely slowed down. I mean, actually, when we started this podcast, I think I had a little over 200 games. I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I still can use them more. Then I got over 300 and it's like, okay, this is starting to get a little problematic. I could play a game every day and not finish by the end of the year. Then I got to 400. Okay, I better start purging. Now I'm getting close to 500, so it's like, okay, I really need to start purging and slow down on buying. I've definitely, forced myself to slow down on the buying. The purging is still challenging.
Well, I say purge away.
I'm sorry. My collection has been on a slow burn, so I'm still adding games. I'm adding games at a pretty decent clip. So I will probably, by the end of this year, have have added like 16 or 20 games to my collection. But I'm also axing a lot of games from my collection. So I'm probably not going to axe any of my games before the end of the year. But I think I've axed like 9 or 10 games this year. But those numbers include trades. So if I trade, like if I get rid of 3 games and get 2 games, that sort of counts towards those numbers. I will say that I bought or acquired a lot of like engine building style games over the last like 2 years, which I have found my almost perfect style of game. If a game involves a reasonable amount of engine building, I'm usually all for it. So that's good because I have like a half dozen games that all fit in that category, but all feel different enough to me to warrant their inclusion in my collection. They don't like replace each other like you were mentioning.
So next year when we're doing this, behind Peter, we're gonna see a giant wall of board games.
I don't know about that. Maybe. Like literally, I know like Nathan's just talking about like I've got 500 games. I think my collection right now is still right around 30.
That's not bad actually.
So that was me like 2 years ago, Pete. I'm currently at 80.
What you gotta do is before your wife explores all the rooms, seal off one of them with a secret door.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Sounds like a plan to me. Let's do it.
I was gonna say I got the perfect room in mind. Shh, it's okay. She doesn't listen to the podcast. It'll be fine.
There you go. I used to say that, but then my daughter started listening.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All the secrets are out.
Yep. So I can't talk about what I got them.
Yeah. We just don't discuss where you hid their presents, right? All right, James, it's time. Pick your favorite child. As in, pick your favorite episode.
Oh, my favorite episode?
Yeah.
I really like the one where we interviewed the Faction Battlegrounds people. I thought they were really cool, and that was a lot of fun with the interview. I like that one a lot. That was my favorite. How about you, Dan?
Well, I'm going to cheat, of course. Because I can. We're going to talk about whatever we want here, right? So I have to mention episode number 13 will always be near and dear to my heart because that was my first appearance on the podcast. But in talking in general terms, I like the episodes where we do some amount of analysis on games, like we did an episode on deck building games. We did an episode on games without points, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I like that content. I love, however, the deep dives and the deconstructs. And examples of what we did for that was when we just spent a whole episode talking about Twilight Imperium 4 or Dead of Winter.
Yep. Which eventually we're going to have to play Twilight Imperium again.
Yeah.
And do another episode on it.
Yeah.
Well, the episode I found most fun was our worst game episode, where we just ripped into some really horrifically bad games.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
Although I do agree, I definitely like some of the deep dives. I like Dead of Winter, although that I consider that a cursed episode because we had so many technical issues trying to get that one out.
No one knows that.
Nobody knows that we recorded the episode twice and we recorded the playthrough twice. It's like,
yeah, and we actually had a technical episode in the middle of the second one.
Yeah.
It scared me because we almost lost the recording. I was like, no! Not twice. Yeah, that one was. Oh man, that was super jinxed.
For me, I don't know. I love doing playthroughs with you guys. I love getting to learn a game and to play through it. But for me, obviously, my episode is I loved running you guys through D&D. I loved getting to run James through his very first game of Dungeons and Dragons. Nathan, kind of one of his early ones. Dan, it had been a while since you'd played, and so it was a lot of fun for me to feel like I was contributing a little bit more than what I feel like I do sometimes. And so it was a really good time to slowly introduce you to the character creation process, but then also to play a game with you guys that I love so much. So for me, that was definitely my favorite episode so far.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
I have to say I've put a lot of thought into what my character would do next to move forward.
I'd like to hear about this.
I don't know. Maybe we do another episode at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be up for that.
Yeah, I think we all picked good ones here. I mean, some of the interviews we did was definitely one of the ways in which we connected with the greater gaming community, which was definitely a good thing to see and experience. And playing games together, I'm always down for playing more games together. Speaking of which, all right, here we go. We're going to make a commitment, right, to each other and our listening audience. One game that we must play / review together, right? Mine is Maracaibo. Hands down, I need to show you guys all this game.
That sounds great. So what about you, James? What's a game?
I'm currently thinking. Don't you see the loading thing?
Oh, I know. I didn't see it. I didn't see the loading going over your brain. I'm gonna actually say, if all four of us played it, it might be good enough to go ahead and try Dune with all four of us.
Yes, please.
I think that would be fantastic. I'd love to play that and break it down, but it might even be worth it to like get a special guest, get a fifth player on that episode just to get that number count higher. But yeah, I'd love to play Dune with you guys and do a deep dive on that.
Well, that sounds amazing.
Mine that I want to play with you guys, and I don't know whether it's going to be good or not. I know Nathan played it, but I really like, I never thought I would even like Cthulhu-based games at all. But I think Mansions of Madness really got me into it, and I really want to play Death May Die with you guys. Better or worse, I definitely want to play Death May Die with you guys.
Yeah,
it's going to be for worse. We're all going to die.
Yeah, that's probably true. How about you, Nathan?
Dan will probably, I already mentioned Zaya a couple of times this episode, and I think that would be a really fun one for us to play together.
Yeah, Zaya Legends of the Drift System would be awesome.
I was going to say, I think that's the only one that I've not heard of. I don't know.
It was a Kickstarter only game, and then I don't believe it ever went out to retail.
That is correct.
The
no, I got it for retail.
How?
Oh, recently. They re-released it recently. What was this?
I mean, some retailer shops might have gotten a hold of it by backing it on Kickstarter, but my understanding is that it doesn't go through normal distribution methods. How about that? Or traditional distribution methods.
You're right. I got it from their website. Yeah, so it wasn't Kickstarter, but they produced it themselves, and you could order it from their website. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't think they had a way of getting it retail at all. So again, the availability was very low, so the coverage is really low because a lot of your content creators won't review a game. Or don't generally review games that aren't out for retail. So
yeah, they want them to be available for obvious reasons.
Right, which makes sense, because why would you review a game people can't get?
But this is definitely a game that's big on table presence, so it might be something great for Slippery Rock Con next year.
I don't know if I can wait that long.
Right. I mean, that's a game that I definitely want to show you guys, being the person who owns it and knows it. But yes, it is a table hog, and depending upon, like, you can change how many fame points you want to play the game to, but to get a really good feel of it, you're looking at least a 2-hour session. Up to 3 if you've got, more than the 2 players that I'm used to playing it with.
I know James is going to fly in the sun at some point, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm just going to randomly. That'd be fun. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with playing like 6 to 8 hour games, so I'm fine with 2 to 3. I mean, Terraforming Mars, it takes 3 hours plus. So, and I love that game.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. We are going to try to play this game, these 4 games sometime in the future. You'll see them on YouTube. Maybe not right away. Or we'll talk about them on the episode. No, definitely not tonight, Marathon.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun over the 50 different episodes. I'm hoping we can get to 100. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
We were originally a bi-weekly podcast, and now we're back to being bi-weekly podcast. So it'll be a little while before we get to 100, but I'm definitely excited.
Well, I think early on we were more bi-weekly-ish before James took over most of the editing responsibilities.
Yeah, that's sort of talking about the games that we're going to play in the future and mentioning hoping to get to 100 sooner or later. Let's talk about the future, gentlemen. What else are we planning, if anything?
Well, I know we're going to be doing more playthroughs. So with the whole idea of going to the bi-weekly podcast is it going out of COVID and everyone going back to work, it gives me more time to edit the podcast, but then also allows me to still do our Monday recordings and have more playthroughs, which is really gets us back into enjoying the games and playing the games and hanging out together. So I think that's going to be awesome.
I know that's what I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah.
Because I got to get the chance to play more of these games, so I'm looking forward.
Yeah, and get you into some of the new mechanics and learning some of the cool new things. That's another one. You haven't played Gloomhaven yet, right?
I have not played Gloomhaven yet.
Oh,
I was just at the comic store the other day looking at. I think they got 2 copies at least one copy there, 2 copies
Yep,
maybe?
no, I still have 2 copies of Gloomhaven. Somebody bought my last copy of Jaws of the Lion. It was a Target exclusive for maybe like a month and a half, but
Right.
now we're going to get their hands on it.
Which I think is amazing that South Player Games was able to get that into Target. So I'm really happy for them because that's so many units.
That's a big box and a large price tag, and actually a pretty complex game to get into mass market chain. Perfectly honest, even that version of it, which is slightly slimmed down from big Gloomhaven.
Yeah, it's a big price tag for stores that were selling like their average games are between like $15 and $20.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Well, the Gloomhaven Digital Early Access game has just unlocked their multiplayer functionality, so that you can always pick that up if you're interested, and I can play that with you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely worth it because it has a really unique, cool mechanism with the hand management / life system that they have going.
Yeah, exhaustion. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you get exhausted when you run out, or you can shed cards to prevent damage and stuff. So it's really cool how tight that is and how nice it is.
Yeah, it's a game that you can tell this is that they spent years working on this and fine tuning it and really thinking out everything. Major passion project for him.
Plus, you could just not get the workout system, so you could just not get the dumbbells and all that stuff, and you could just get a copy of Gloomhaven, and when you're not playing it, you could just bench press it because it weighs like 25-30 pounds.
It's a big box.
It is a heavy box. There's so much cardboard in that thing.
I mean, yeah, no, I got a case of Gloomhaven, which was 2 units at the store when it first came in, and they're both still there, but I had to put them up on the shelf, which is about eye level for me, and yeah, it was very awkward moving around that store with that box, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, when I get Frosthaven here, and I'll have to get a big bar, put Gloomhaven on one side, Frosthaven on the other.
Oh, I can imagine it now. That's great.
Yeah, that Frosthaven looks like it's going to be pretty cool. They were supposed to make summoning more of a thing in it too, which is one of the things I found was weird in Gloomhaven, where summoning is actually generally not good, or not as good as it should be.
Yeah, you get these pets you can summon, and they tend to fall behind as you progress through the dungeon, and they struggle to keep up.
Yeah, that and the loss of the card too.
Yeah,
So.
Once you level up a little bit, though, losing a card isn't as devastating.
Recording more episodes. I mentioned the content that I'm most interested in, those analysis, those deep dives, those deconstructs, but any of the content that you guys mentioned that you enjoyed, I would be happy to touch upon as well. This is all a good plan for the future, I think.
And doing those playthroughs are going to help out with the deep dives too. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for our last of our 50th episode.
Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.